This is Black Re-Education TV, where we're stepping back from the brink towards a more meaningful future. With our theme verse being, thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. So if your ancestors were scattered via the transatlantic slave trade or the Mohammedan Arabic Islamic slave trade, then you are the children of Almighty. Sunini Nanini Samandla, the mighty one of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Oh yes, Black history. The study of the Bible is Black history. And so you're welcome tonight. Welcome to the show. Welcome. Share the link to everyone. And let somebody know tonight that you are connected to the show. We give him all the praise. We give him all the glory. We give him all the honor because he is due all the praise and all the honor. Oh yes, share the link and text a friend. And after the show, make sure you follow us on all the channels. It is on Telegram Live, it is YouTube Live, Facebook Live, and the recording is uploaded on Bantu. You are welcome tonight to the show. All praises to Almighty Sunini Nanini Samanda. We give him all the praise and all the glory.
Waking up the Bantus from sea to sea. Black Re-Education TV. Waking up the Bantus from sea to sea. Black Re-Education TV.
Every time we begin to say who we are, we're being told when we say we are the chosen, we're being told that we are anti-Semitic, to shut us down. But this time, the long time, this time, the been before time.
This is what I have to say, and I think you will agree. There is someone who's been running around claiming to be you and me. And now there's no compromising. It won't be stopped. The awakening is real. There's no compromising. And we don't care how you feel. Trust, hear, and understand. We're simply speaking truth. Exposing that fake holy land and gathering all the proof. We are not claiming to have found everything, but the Most High helps us remember. Just like He opened up our eyes and showed our New Year's in September. their noses in the air, and they're still walking tall. There's no compromising, but pride comes before a fall. Now we'll see what comes about, unless we do forget. The Most High commands a righteous rule, and Bantu, we're up next.
So nini, na nini, the truth and the way. Tata unzami, modimo, your Congo we say. So nini, na nini, the truth and the way. It's a complicated story that you need to know. With layers of deception, it feels like vertigo, vertigo, vertigo. Kiti chabo konzi, ileki makasi. Kiti chabo konzi, ileki makasi.
Remember in the Matrix movie, people asleep, Kimbo. They control the minds of the helpless and the weak. We were stolen, we were kidnapped from our motherland, then conditioned in the Matrix. So we don't understand. They stripped us of our ancient language and our Bantu history. Our history taught us different foreign tongues and ripped apart our families. Our families.
So nini, na nini, the truth and the way. Tata and zombie, modimo, your Congo we say. So nini, na nini, the truth and the way. Tata and zombie, modimo, your Congo we say. It's a complicated story that you need to know. With layers of deception, it feels like vertigo, vertigo, vertigo. Kiti chabo konzi, ileki makasi. Kiti chabo konzi, ileki makasi.
The wicked ones devise their plan to destroy the Bantu nation. They demonized Africa and built walls of separation. They colonized Africa to hide our truth. Yeah, they hide our truth about the Congo kingdom. The Bantu roots, the land of milk and honey. It's in our holy book, in Sub Saharan Africa. Go take a look.
So nini, na nini, the truth and the way. Tata and zombie, modimo, your Congo we say. So nini, na nini, the truth and the way. Tata and zombie, modimo, your Congo we say. It's a complicated story that you need to know. With layers of deception, it feels like vertigo, vertigo, vertigo. Kiti chabo konzi, ileki makasi. Kiti chabo konzi, ileki makasi. So this project is about the Bantu truth. There's an awakening happening where our people here in America, in the diaspora, are beginning to wake up to who they truly are in terms of their African identity. We are Bantus, so I wrote this song to show the history of where we come from, our language, and to show the levels of the matrix that's happening that have deceived our people. So I want to teach through this song. I want people to come back to the Most High. I want them to know the ancient names that we call our Heavenly Father. So this is a project that's very spiritual, it's historical, it's cultural, and it's educational, and it's empowering, so that we know that we have a Heavenly Father that has not forgotten us, and that while we're here in this diaspora, in this beast system, there are going to be some changes made. The Most High is waking up His people, and it's teaching true history of Black folks who are in the diaspora, in the four corners of the earth, as the scripture says.
I guess you might say that as a people we have come a long way, and I guess you might say, although things have changed, some things remain. You extend your hand and support all the things that I do, but on the other hand, you say I've offended you. Is that truly brotherly love? There is greatness in store. If we come together, we could be so much more. But deep in your core, there is a sin that lieth at your door. When you extend your hand and support all the things that I do, but on the other hand, you say I've offended you. Is that truly brotherly love we see in you? Do we have the heart of the Father? Do we have the heart of the Father? Do we have the heart of the Father? Does He dwell in you?
You shall love Samini your mighty one, with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets.
When you extend your hand and support all the things that I do, but on the other hand, you say I've offended you. Is that truly brotherly love we see in you? Hey, do we have the heart of the Father? Do we have the heart of the Father? Do we have the heart of the Father? When I was naked, did you clothe me with the kindness of your heart? When I was hungry, did you feed me, or did you leave me there to starve? When I was lying on my
lives of Sunni. His matchless grace towards the children of Jacob. How he loved them. He said to the children of Jacob, even though you have been scattered to the farthest reaches of the earth, he said, there I will go and I will bring you back. I will gather you from the four corners of the earth. And I will bring you back to your land.
Pull out your spirit on me. Power come set us free. Spirit of Ubuntu dwell in me. For your goodness sake, remember me. Protect me from all my enemies. Oh, keep my soul and deliver me. Sunini, yeah, we cry to thee. Oh, Sunini, you are holy. Oh, Sunini, you are holy. Mighty one of a Kobe, King of all glory. Please strengthen me when I'm weak. Be in my lungs when I speak. In all my ways, please guide me. Pull out your spirit on me. Pull out your spirit on me. I'm in the valley of death, but I ain't fearing no evil. I know that we at war, but Sunini fight for his people. Open up that Bible, let Ubuntu come and teach you. Gave me eyes to see, and now these lies is looking see-through. They said the Holy Land was in the Middle East, but Abram went up south, yeah, that's Genesis 13. South from Egypt, Africa, so tell me what that mean. All my black and brown people, we the chosen seed. And then yeah, they took your people and divided your land. Put shackles on our feet and put shackles on our hands. Just as you prophesied unto Abraham. But Sunini, you the redeemer. Yeah, you gonna redeem us in front of all of these schemers. From Egypt come and free us, from Babylon come and free us. Calling on Sunini, we ain't calling on Jesus. Jesus equals 666, that's things they ain't teach us. We in the last days, oh Sunini, please keep us. Judgment is coming and there's no escape. Falling, falling is Babylon the Great. Falling, falling is Babylon the Great. Pull out your spirit on me. Power come set us free. Spirit of Ubuntu dwell in me. For your goodness sake, remember me. Protect me from all my enemies. Oh, keep my soul and deliver me. Sunini, yeah, we cry to thee. Oh, Sunini, you are holy. Oh, Sunini, you are holy. Mighty one of a Kobe, King of all glory. Please strengthen me when I'm weak. Be in my lungs when I speak. In all my ways, please guide me. Pull out your spirit on me. Pull out your spirit on me.
Sunini Nanini for breaking down every obstacle in the path to the redemption of his people. And we join the prophets that said, therefore the redeemed of Sunini Nanini shall return and come with singing unto Zion. That's what they said in the Bible. But I know it's Jerusalem.
Eat paradise, eat paradise, yeah. Eat paradise, eat paradise, yeah. Eat paradise, eat paradise, yeah. Eat paradise, eat paradise. Ingefuna ukuya Jerusalem, Jerusalem, Jerusalem. Ingefuna ukuya Jerusalem, Jerusalem, Jerusalem. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I wanna go to paradise where the roads gold and the weather's nice. Where the Salema ain't on fight. No moon or sun, cause you be the light. Way truth and light. So many nanini. Tata is on me. Mighty one over Kobe. Out New Egypt, you gon' lead us. You the one to redeem us. You love us but don't need us. False doctrine, you gon' free us. Yeah. I can hear the shaking of the bones. All cause the one on the throne. A Kobe, yeah, we gone home. So then please take us home. Eat paradise, eat paradise, yeah. Eat paradise, eat paradise, eat paradise, eat paradise, eat paradise, eat paradise. Funa ukuya Jerusalem, Jerusalem, Jerusalem. Ingefuna ukuya Jerusalem, Jerusalem, Jerusalem. Yeah.
Okay. Greetings tonight once more in the precious name of our Father Almighty Sunini Nanini Samandla. He is the mighty one of Isaka, the mighty one of Akobi. He is the father of the Bantu people. We give him all the praise as we continue to study of our Father's words. We're living in interesting times, testing times, but we give thanks and praise that as we follow the ways of Sunini Nanini, he will take care of us. Hallelujah. We need to remember too that this is one part of life. This life comes to an end suddenly for some people, prolonged for some people, but it's important that we know after death, what comes after death. Hallelujah. I want to welcome everyone. Happy Feast of Weeks as we continue in the Feast of Weeks. We are in the third month of the Bantu calendar. And in this new series, we've been looking at the role that the Kenites played. The Kenites, Cain, Kenaz, the role that was played by Cain. In the creation of the New Testament in Palestine. The creation of the New Testament in Palestine. And so tonight, as we go a little deeper into this matter, we get to see, like I said last night, that the Old Testament is set on the continent. And they had to get the New Testament going in the new location that they were going to seize in 1948. So in 1872, between 1872 and 1875, the program was on to overlay the Old Testament location from Sub Saharan into the new location in the Levant. So lots of changes had to be made. Among the changes, you had to change the identity of the people who live up south, the children of Nguni, the son of Naphtali, son of Akobi. You have to change the identity of Akobi. Change his identity to the point where you now could fit him in a different space. You had to change the identity of Aram, make him Syria. Change the identity of Damisak to Damascus. Change the identity of Ashur to Assyria, so you can fit him over there. And so all of these changes were being made, but the problem was that the location was too small. So when they had to bring over the brother of Ashur, who they made Assyria, when they had to bring over the brother of Ashur, Elam, they had to put him in Iran. You see, because there ain't no place to put him. They had to now bring over Mesopotamia, the Fertile Crescent. That's what Mesopotamia is. So they have to now move the Fertile Crescent from along the River Niger, the Niger River, and along the Nile River. They have to move these two locations over to the Levant. So they got the river Euphrates, which is in the west, but they needed a river in the east, and they can't take the Nile because it is too known. So they took the river Tigris in East Africa and move it over there and call it Tigris. We're talking about tonight the creation of the New Testament. Last night we looked at the church created by the gates of hell. I think we looked at that before. And so as we go deeper and deeper, you would get to realize that the actions taken were systematic and consistent with Cain, the Kenites, Kenaz. One of the mistakes that they've made is that in 1948, when they moved the story over, South Africa became like Palestine. That's why today, South Africa is not easy on the land of Israel. They have several links with the lands of Israel because they know that story. They know that in 1948, when they were made an apartheid state, where black and brown people couldn't go certain places because a minority came in and took over the land, they know that Palestinian story. And so they cut ties with Israel because apartheid, the same movement by the same people created the same story. See, you don't get to, birds of a feather, we say back in the day, flock together. Show me your company and I'll tell you who you are. Those are the terminologies being used by the older folks back in the day. And so wherever Cain goes, Cain is going to genocide people. Wherever Cain goes, it's going to be apartheid. Because Cain has made himself the chosen. The chosen of who? Is the question. And because Cain has become the chosen, another people had to be put into demise. Cain is not standing on his own because Sunini has cursed the seed of Cain. And therefore Cain has got now to disinherit other people to find a position. It reminds me a little bit about when Esau was crying for a blessing. He said, bless me. If you got one more blessing, just give me blessing. And because he couldn't get the blessing of the firstborn, because he was not the firstborn, he set out to undermine Jacobi to the point where he was threatening to kill him. And Jacobi had to run down to Padan Aram, West Africa, and stay in the house of Laban, his uncle. So until the wrath of Esau healed. Never did, never will. You see, you're programmed through your DNA. And if you receive a genetic curse in your DNA, it can't be changed. We're talking divine story now. If you want to leave at this point, you can leave, because this is a scriptural, biblical conversation we are having. And if you're not scriptural or biblical, you don't want to hear this, you don't have to be here. You see, it's important that you do that for yourself. You don't have to listen to anything that you don't want to. I don't listen to anything that I don't want to listen to. I'm sure you should do the same. So these people that we are talking about here, the mark is on them. The marker is there. The evidence is there. And so as we talk tonight about Cain, the Kenites, Kenaz, and the creation of the New Testament in Palestine. Last night we saw that the churches mentioned in the New Testament, they are all in Asia, Euro-Asia, Euro-Arab world. We see, and you'll see again tonight because we'll have a lot of maps tonight, Mount Ararat has got to end up in Turkey because they flipped the south right over there into the Levant. So some places that belong to the southern kingdom end up in the northern kingdom over there. And some place that belong to the northern kingdom end up south. See Mount Carmel by the sea. Table Mountain is by the sea. See Gaza is by the sea. Mozambique. Gaza Strip is by the sea. So this is a game that was being played as they were planning. But who was doing this planning? And those are the people that we'll talk about tonight. Kitchener and Condor. Two young men that studied at the University of Greenwich in England and obtained qualifications in cartography, which is the art of understanding the contour of lands and rivers and lakes and all of these things. And the other one, they were to school together. Kitchener, he had his hands in geology. And so there was a period in history when these young men took over from others who were in Palestine. And so the period we're talking about tonight is 1872 to 1875. When these young men were about 23 and 24 years old, but they dedicated their lives to go into working with the, I can't remember the name of the Palestinian organization, but it's a British organization who took responsibility for overlaying biblical locations in the Levant. Now, the very fact that the conversation we are having is that they're going there to overlay or superimpose biblical locations mean they were not there before. So they were creating a Bible belt in the Levant. So they copied it from up south. They took the Bantu scrolls from Kumka in South Africa, thanks to Johnny John. And they took them over there, they become Dead Sea Scrolls. But these fellows were using the Bible, using the book of Joshua, how he was lotting out the land to a Bantu up south. And all they needed to do is to put the names of places on the ground. They didn't care about the people and the identity of the people and the language of the people. They were going to put this biblical story over there. And they will call it, as they did, Canaan's land. They didn't care what Abraham said in Genesis chapter 13, verse number 1. That he was going back up south from whence he has come. They went northeast and they set up this story in the northeast. As some of them had to leave because of different sickness and disease and so on, but they tried their best and they used the works of Josephus and the Talmud to overlay these New Testament locations in the Levant. And so anybody is talking tonight about this matter, you have to understand it, that there was a time there was no biblical space over there, no biblical locations there. And that years before 1948, there were people overlaying that in that space. And they're the same people whose ancestors came in 1948 to occupy that space and created a diversion by subjecting the Holy Land, Sub Saharan, to a state of apartheid and slavery, confusion, while they, by subtlety, created in Palestine the New Testament. And then say that this is where Jesus was born. They know that Jesus never existed, but they said that this is where Jesus was born. He was running on the hills of Judea, not Judah. And this is the story of the Hollywood set that we're dealing with. I know that it's difficult, this topic, especially where we have to deal with our Hebrew Israelite brothers who would want to say, let's cancel the New Testament. Some of them, there's a group that say, let's cancel the New Testament because we can't understand it. So I'm going to try my best to help us to understand. that the story of the Messiah, Msindisi, took place. But it was taken out of its context and location. The identities were changed, and it was now presented in a Hollywood movie scene set up in the Levant. It was being prepared for a long time. So that's why when you read the Bible, you don't get to read about a Kobe, because his name becomes Israel. So Israel takes the place of a Kobe in a name. Israel takes the place of a Kobe in locations. So he lost his birth name, which means he that opened the womb, the firstborn. And he picks up three deities, Isis, Ra, and El. And now, when the angel said to the mother of the Messiah and father, they that seek the life of this child is now dead, go back to the land. Now, you only get to go back to where you came from. And so, like Abraham, they were going back up south. And then they heard that the brother of Herod was reigning in his stead. So they didn't go right back to the south side of Jerusalem. They stayed on the east of Jerusalem in a place called Mpumalanga in South Africa, where Nazareth is, so that he be called a Nazarene. In the same space where Samson came up from Gaza with the gates. He was a Nazarite. He had the locks, 7 locks. His head. You remember that story, Samson? With the locks. You don't get locks just like that. There's a connection with black and brown people and locks. I mean, everybody's doing the locks now, but you know, I'm not talking natural locks here. And so, these 2 young men, they were taken in by the religion of the day and the times in which they were living in. And so they made a move to participate in the homeland, which 100 years later would be claimed as the land of the Hebrew Israelites or the Jews. Now, don't mix me up and call me anti-Semitic. I'm just laying out facts, historical facts here tonight. So like Josephus, who was the architect behind some of this history, they participated in the process. I could understand you not having a homeland and you want to create a homeland. And I think this was a position of South Africa as well. If you want to create a homeland, you have to be prepared to live in peace with the people next door to you. If I want to live in this house, I've got neighbors to the right and to the left and in front of me and at the back of me. I've got to live in peace with them. I can't do things that will upset my neighbors extremely and we're having a debate and we can't settle it. And then I say, look, I'm chosen, so I'm going to get rid of you, we can never get to that space, So, and when we, as I needed to say this as well, when we as a Bantu, when we talk of being the chosen people, I want to make this so clear to us that we don't ever mix it up with other people. We're not suggesting that we want to be superior to anyone. We're simply claiming a heritage that belongs to us. And that heritage comes with a responsibility. And the responsibility that comes with it is to be good people, to be holy people. That's the chosenness that Sunini Nanini attaches to his people. A royal priesthood, a holy nation. And the thing about holiness, you don't have to ask much about it. You know what it means to be holy. Because you are holy, you don't go around killing people. If you're chosen, you don't have to defend your God. When you start having to defend your God, then you've got problems. And so, coming with this responsibility as a Bantu, that we are the chosen people, we have the right to make sure the life on this earth that has been given to us by Sunini Nanini is sacred, is protected, and we have a right to speak up in the face of wrong, regardless of what it looks like, regardless of how we feel about what is wrong. We need to say that this is wrong. We have to do that. That's part of being righteous. We have to do what is right. That's the word connotes. We can't do wrong and then get a lot of people justifying our wrong. And then if you don't justify the wrong, you try to label people and shut them down and call them anti-Semitic. You can't do that as a Bantu. Yes, you Bantu, you are Semitic. You are from the lineage of Shem. And Shem, and this is factual, Shem, like Japheth, and if Ham is a son, and if Tam is a son, and if Harry is a son, they can only produce what the grandfather Noah's DNA is producing is black and brown people. And because that comes with a responsibility. So don't think that you can shut us up by calling us anti-Semitic. We're original Shem. Shem in the DNA. Not by name change. You see, so people, they're changing these names. The same people have been changing our names and their names to match up with the location and to match up with the story. You can't do that. It's unrighteous to do that. And so, while people were asking for Cain after the flood, now you know where Cain is after the flood. Cain has characteristics that follow him. Cain has to be a certain way because Sunini Nanini has dictated that in the DNA of Cain. And nothing different can happen. Wherever Cain goes, there will be genocide and there will be apartheid. And anybody associated with Cain, they will do the same. If Cain takes over America, there will be genocide. If Cain takes over the UK, it's going to be genocide. Wherever Cain goes, he has got to do that. And if Esau was with Cain, in 1 Samuel chapter 15, Amalek, the grandson of Esau, was there with the Kenites, the descendants of Cain, is because they are partners in crime. They do the same things. That's why Sunini wanted them out of the space. But here comes now in the 21st century, somebody's misusing that scripture and suggesting that somehow Palestinians could now become Amalekites. Amalek. Nonsense. Nonsense. But you see, rightly dividing the word of truth is what a Bantu is here to do. That's what Sunini has us in the earth. We're a remnant to show forth the light. And Synthesis said, you are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden. Everyone will see the light. Let your light so shine before men that they might see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. Sometimes we suffer because we have to speak the truth. Count it all joy to suffer for righteousness. Because people don't like the truth. He said, and since he's speaking again, he said, men are afraid to come to the light because their deeds will be made manifest. And they love darkness because in the darkness, their deeds are hidden. But we are in the light as children of the light. We ain't got nothing to hide. We're doing it. We are the righteousness of Sunini Nanini in the earth. Every time you look at us, we remind you of who Sunini is. He is just. He is righteous. He is holy and demands a Bantu to be holy. And so you just run around the corners and shouting, I'm the chosen people. You have to be righteous. Righteousness must permeate your being, doing right. When everybody else is doing wrong, you are commanded to do right. That's a sign of chosenness. If you cannot manifest the fruits of the Spirit, the fruits that come from the spirit of Sunini, the fruits of Ubuntu, you don't have the spirit of Sunini, because the world cannot receive that spirit. In Syndicee teaching, the spirit of truth, whom the world cannot receive. And so when they lyingly and deceitfully try to create the New Testament story in the Levant, they were hiding the story that took place up south, in South Africa, where there was a man walking there, black and brown man, was walking in Cape Town, Capernaum. So they changed the name and the location of Capernaum. They called the Galley Sea False Bay so they can take it and put it, and they couldn't find a sea up there because it's the Mediterranean, the sea there. But you see, they made a lake into a sea and teach us in the geography lessons that a lake is a body of water surrounded by land. But that's not a Galley Sea. A Galley Sea is like a bay. The water rushes in and rushes out. That's the Galley Sea. It's in Cape Town. Cape in the Greek is town. Capernaum is what you did. You use the Greek word for Cape and you say it Capernaum. Nahum is the prophet. And his name, the Eshkalite, his name means comfort. Tongue of comfort. And so you shift it over to the Galley Sea, to the Lake Tiberias, the Sea of Tiberias, Tiberius Caesar in the Northern Hemisphere. And you convert that lake and call it a sea. When the children came out of Egypt, you call the Nile River a sea. Because the same word you translate for sea, you translate for river, you translate for lake. So nobody could trace what you're doing. It's called deceit. And Sunini tonight is exposing wickedness in the earth in all its forms. In all its forms. And he's using his people around the world to point it out. If it's in the church, we know the church has been built by the gates of hell. Therefore, the Holy Ghost is there. The Ruach is in the church. So you're going to get the response. If you're built by the gates of hell, you are the gateway to hell. I know people don't talk it as plain like that. Let's go back to the Testament. So now you create the New Testament and you overlay it in the Levant, in Arab lands. And then you deny the story. You refrain yourself from connecting with the New Testament story because you didn't like Jesus. You pretend. You created him, but had to act as though you didn't like him. But now, in the end time, you're claiming the New Testament. You're claiming that Jesus was born in the Levant. But we know that Jesus never existed. It's a figment of the imagination of the Romans. A picture painted by Michelangelo that never left the canvas on which it was painted on. You know that. But now it suits you to embrace this Jesus story. Now that you got it in the Levant, it suits you now to embrace this chosen people ideology because you have changed the name of the chosen seed, Akobi, to Israel. But you see, all of those are superficial changes. You cannot change the DNA. You cannot change it. It manifests itself not just in a physical appearance and traits. It brings down a history genetically from the ancestors. And we begin to behave according to our ancestors because there is a spirit in the DNA. Oh, I said that tonight. Sunini Nanini is doing his business tonight. There is a spirit that is connected with the DNA. And if you don't have that spirit, you are none of his. That spirit transmits all the qualities of Sunini Nanini that first give that DNA to Adam in the book of Genesis. Because Sunini made Adam as a lookalike in his likeness. That's what it means. Sunini Nanini made Adam as a lookalike of himself, not just physically, spiritually, intellectually, righteously. That's why Adam lost, because once you walk away from righteousness, once you walk away from holiness, Sunini cannot dwell and deal. That's why he said, be holy, as I am holy, he said. And he will not call us to be holy if he knows that we are incapable of being holy. And so, we have a little conniving conversation taking place. We're getting into our topic just now. A little conniving conversation that is taking place that people are not noticing on the surface is that the people in the Levant that are claiming to be the chosen people, whose place of worship is a synagogue, is now talking about building a third temple. For who? Temple worship, tabernacle worship is about a Bantu. That's what they did when they came out. Our ancestors did when they came out of Egypt. First they had the tabernacle, and then they established a temple in the Kalahari, where it's no longer there now. Because Vespasian and Titus, the Romans, destroyed it. And so, why do you want to build a temple when your house of worship is a synagogue? You need to notice that. It's the shifting. It's the shifting without people noticing. So, the location of the Bible, the Bantu scrolls, and the biblical people has been shifted from the south to the northern hemisphere. The times when they should observe the feast days of Sunini Nanini up south has been shifted to the northern hemisphere. Jordan River has been shifted, just a name, because it's still there in Lesotho, shifted to the northern hemisphere. Beersheba in KwaZulu-Natal, opposite Durban, shifted to the Levant to become Beersheba. Abraham had a name change to Abraham. Shifted to the Levant, Abraham. And the religions that they create is known as Abraham. So this is the situation that we find ourselves. This is the context in which the New Testament was created. It's a shifting story. Shifting. And that's why when our brothers, the Hebrew Israelites, start waking up, they say, no. This Jesus story can't write. He's not like that. He's not like that. He's got to be black. And so they say, we're going to change his name to Yeshua. And then they went a little further to Yahaboshai. Trying to do the same thing, shifting. Because they know that can't be right. Because there is a spirit that is connecting you with this story. And if you don't have that spirit, you are none of his. And that spirit is not the Ruach HaKodesh. That's the spirit of Ubuntu, the spirit of Sunini, and he's not a Holy Ghost. You see, so it's the shifting, changing of names, changing of locations, changing of culture and customs, and this is what we've been subjected to. But they knowingly put their church by the gate or hell. And we all jump in. Broad is the way that leads to destruction, but narrow is the way that leads to life eternal. Hallelujah. Let me take you back into the sharing. All praises to Almighty Sunini Nanini Samandla. He's the mighty one of Abraham, the mighty one of Isaka, and the mighty one of Akobi. Hallelujah. All right. Let's get this up there. We're going to have to start sharing again. Okay. Let's get the sharing going. And so Kitchener and Conde, two British Jews, young men, decided to join the act of overlaying the biblical location in the Levant. Cain, the Kenites, Kenaz, created a New Testament in Palestine. Matthew chapter 16 verse 18 says, "And I say unto thee, thou art Peter, and upon this rock in Caesarea Philippi, by the gates of hell, I will build my church." This is not Msindisi speaking. This is the story created and creating the church and the New Testament in the location. That's why all the churches that you see in the Bible, in the book of in the New Testament, Sardis, Pergamum, all of them, they are in Asia Minor. We looked at them last night. The gate of hell shall not prevail against it, because it's one and the same. You only go in opposition to things because you are opposite to it. But if you're creating the same thing, hell, by the gates of hell, and the gateway to hell, there's no prevailing against it. Those are not the words of Msindisi. Those are not his words. He never came to Palestine. He never left the continent. Like Abraham, never left the continent. Like a Kobe, never left the Holy Land. Issachar never left the Holy Land. To get us off the Holy Land, transatlantic slave trade. To get us off the Holy Land, the Arabic Islamic slave trade. Oh, now we do it voluntarily. They said things have changed. Not much. We'll talk about modern slavery, or slavery by another name, another time. So we got the church built there, and then we got those who joined the church. They have joined the road to pass through the gate to hell. And so, Palestine in the New Testament times, let's just get this a little bigger for you. Hallelujah. Western Palestine, where the story is taking place tonight, is not a biblical location. It is the fabricated story. Western Palestine. How did that come into existence? Now, the Ottoman Turks had taken possession as the Ottoman Empire was expanding. And the British, did I see? And the British, who was an empire ruling at that point and expanding itself, had his eyes on this piece of land. And so there was this organization that was set up to survey the land that you see up there. This piece of Palestinian land was being surveyed because I think it was acquired from the Ottoman. I think they were settling some score, and so this portion of land fell to them. And so they set out to overlay in this space biblical location. Western Palestine, illustrating New Testament. So this piece of land was set up to create or to illustrate the New Testament. It's not a rare thing. It's just an illustration. Also illustrated in this space is the Babylonian Talmud. Of course, they removed Babylon and just kept it as Talmud, because you see, Babylon is in the Sudan. And one of these same men were in the Sudan fighting think it was is it Kitchener? Was in the Sudan, and he was in South Africa fighting the Boer War. He was in India leading the war. So these what we will call mercenaries and terrorists. They went into people's land and was terrorizing them. They were terrorizing people in South Africa, and they were terrorizing people in India, and they were terrorizing people in Palestine. But the purpose of Palestine terrorism was to overlay New Testament location in Arab lands. And the guidance they took was from the biblical accounts and from what Josephus said and what was written in the Talmud. And the architects behind this is cartographer Conda, C.R. Conda, Claude Regina Conda, and Horatio Herbert Kitchener. Two young men, British Jews, that studied at the university in Greenwich, not too far from here up the road. And one, Conda was a cartographer, like I said to you. He was familiar with the contour of land. He knows about the mountains. His role is to understand the formation of mountains and layers and how to dig and to set plains level and so on. Then you had a geographer. He was now responsible for mapping out and measuring up and see what they can put where and how to scale it down so it can fit in a space. Because you see, Africa is too big. And when you got the whole of Sub Saharan, you've got to get these places in here. So you got the names of the places, but you got a challenge. You've got to put them in a way that they must resemble where they come from. And they didn't do a very good job. They didn't do a very good job. And so we have these places. Like I said, we're going to analyze all them places and see where they are in terms of, but let's get a little bit of history about these gentlemen. I might have to escape here for a brief moment. And so I can just zoom in a bit so we can all get to read this document here. I can pull the document here now, and then we could read. The name of Colonel Conda, who died at Cheltenham on February the 16th, is one that will never be forgotten by those who take an interest in the topography and history of Palestine, as there had been no man who had done more by his work in that country and by his studies to throw light upon the many problems connected with Holy Land. So this man is responsible for taking the Holy Land from Sub-Saharan and creating the one in the Levant. Conda, who was the son of the late F.R. Conda, ESQ, was born on December the 29th, 1848. See that there? 1848. Remember 1848 and 100 years after that land was going to be claimed. That's when he was born, 100 years before. And after completing his education at University College London and the Royal Military Academy in Woolwich, received his first commission in the Royal Engineering on January 8, 1870. 2 years or so after, he was going to head out to Palestine. While going through the course of instructions for young officers at Chatham, he displays such an aptitude for surveying, pay attention, surveying and archaeology, that on the completion of his course, the committee of the Palestine Exploration Fund applied for his service in connection with surveying Holy Land west of that Fig Jordan River. So he's going to do the side by the Mediterranean. He was so good. They said, no, this is the man. This is the man for the job. Notice Holy Land is being mentioned. So his was the responsibility to overlay, superimpose the biblical locations that they got from the south into the north, into the Levant. But they had problems because the Arabs were there. And the Arabs were not always friendly to the story. This society was founded in 1865 in order to carry out a scientific examination of Palestine. A scientific examination of Palestine? Why do you want to do that as British? Why are you planning for that? 100 years after this land was going to be claimed. So the society, which was founded in 1865 in order to carry out a scientific examination of Palestine, had made preliminary surveys under the late General Sir C. Wilson, an important exploration at Jerusalem under General General Sir C. Warren, but it soon became evident that the first step to effective work was to make a thorough, accurate survey on a sufficiently large scale to show all the natural and artificial features of this country. This is planning. This is what you call planning. So Conda, on his graduation, he was touted as the man to do this. He's got this ability. He understood the scriptures. And so his was the responsibility. The necessary permissions were obtained from the Sultan. This is the Ottoman Empire in October 1871. And a party of royal engineers under the command of Captain Stewart landed at Jaffa and commenced work. After a short time, Stewart was unfortunately taken seriously ill and was had to remove to home. And in June 1872, Lieutenant Conda was selected to succeed him. This young man was just 23, 24 years old. It was an arduous and responsible task for such a young officer. But they thought that this is the one that can do this job. Yeah, so he joined the ones that were there. Just push this up a little. So the British Royal Engineer was overlaying or surveying, taking account of all the rivers, all the lakes, and then they will sit down and then plan out how to set up this biblical story in the Levant. He was at first assisted by the late Mr. C. Tyrwith Drakes, who died of a fever in 1874, and then by Lieutenant Kitchener, now Viscount Kitchener of Khartoum. So Kitchener is joining him from Khartoum. That's in the Sudan. What is the Royal Engineers doing in the Sudan? They were an occupying force on the continent, and they're conspiring together to take biblical locations and fit them over there, and then they will create the New Testament story on the back of the story of Msindisi. And that man was going to be called Jesus. But they didn't get it very right. Let's see. The greater part of the work had been completed in July 1875, when a murderous attack upon the Survey Party, in which both Conda and Kitchener were seriously injured, caused a temporary delay. The Arabs, they say people were not there. They say people were not there. The Arabs decided, no, you're not doing this. You are not picking up information, data from our land, and we don't know what your plans are. So the Arabs probably put somebody between them, because they had to get guides, to hear and understand what the program was. And the program was to use the work of Josephus, the Talmud, and the work how Joshua lotted out the land to a Bantu. They were going to repeat that story over here and then create the New Testament on the back of it in that same location. As soon as he had recovered, Lieutenant Conda returned to England and the work of preparing the maps for publication on the scale of 1 inch to 1 mile. 1 inch to 1 mile is the scale. See, now let me explain what the scale does to you. The scale does for you. So I've got this jar, and I want to make it a bigger jar. So I multiply the measurements, let's say by 10. So when you see this jar again, it will be 10 times this size. 10 times this size. Right? That's enlarging it. A reducing scale, on the other hand, is that I've got this jar and I want to reduce it by 10 again. So this big jar becomes 10 times smaller. Now, that's a scale that they're talking about. A scale where 1 inch is going to be used. 1 inch on the paper is going to represent 1 mile in reality. So they can take a paper and take a circle and say, this is 1 inch circle, okay? This is going to be Jerusalem. But when you put that Jerusalem on the ground in reality, that Jerusalem will be 1 mile radius, 1 mile diameter, for example. So you take 1 mile, 1 inch diameter to represent 1 mile on the ground. So they got a small paper and they're going to write onto it so they can see where to put things. And hence the problem, because it's not natural. The location that they're putting this biblical large space in Africa into is too small. And so you have to jumble things up, as we'll see later on. So the scale of 1 inch to 1 mile was used. Out of editing enormous mass plans and other information which had been collected, they had to put it together now. This occupied nearly 3 years. So they took about 3 years to plan this out, until April 1878. The portion of the field work which had been left unfinished being completed by Kitchener in 1877. So Kitchener stayed back to collect whatever other data that is needed, and then he's going to feed it into the finished overlay. So when you see them again, you see them in the form of a map. I'll show you one just now. The map was printed by the Ordnance Survey and issued in 1880, accompanied by 7 volumes. So they had to have several layers and layers and layers to really explain the detail. Maybe they had maps of rivers, maps of mountains, maps of hills, maps of valleys, and all of these things they had to put together there to form this. And what you get coming out of that is something like this. So they lay out and they say, okay, this, how it is back in the real land, you've got to have Jerusalem, you have to have the Jordan River separating west and east. And on the east side, Jericho must be there. See Jericho there? Sorry, on the west side, Jericho must be there. You get how they're doing it. And Jordan River running down there. So Bethlehem must be on the west side. And this is what they were doing there. So the maps that they were using to do this was the maps from South Africa. The biblical maps from South Africa that they had. So how did they get those maps? Because they were in South Africa as well. These people, you will see later, Kitchener was involved in the Boer Wars. And if you understand wars, you have to have maps so you know where rivers are, where valleys are, how you're going to lay out the strategy to attack. So they had these things. But it would have been difficult for them to stay in this location because this, it was not normal. This is a predominantly black location. You need to get away from there, create the New Testament. So if you lose all of this, that's why in 1948, South Africa was shut down, apartheid. And then apartheid opened up in the Levant. Now among the Arabs. Remove it from the black people and open it up among the Arabs. So you understand why South Africa is up in arms, because the same thing was done is being done over that side years after by the same people. Let me get my size back down. Okay, so you'll get a map of Palestine. This is what they came up with. Galilee and all of the Decapolis and names that you will not see in the Old Testament. Decapolis and Nabatini Kingdom and Judea instead of Judah and so on. And then they're going to work around the spelling as well. They're going to work around the spelling so that you can argue about spellings and lose the fact that this story is a fabricated story of an Old Testament story. All right. And the architect behind this was the work of Josephus and the Talmud. And so that's what Kitchener and Condor, that's what they were using to do this business that they were doing here. This is a little big blow up of the same story. But let's talk about these people first. So we have here Field Marshal Horatio Herbert Kitchener. And this is a bit of information from him. Was a senior British Army official and colonial administrator. Kitchener came to prominence for his imperial campaigns. He was a mercenary. He was a terrorist. His involvement in the Second Boer War. This is South Africa. Yeah? He was there fighting the Boers, fighting black and brown people for their land. And they come in, the British come in to fight the Boers because they were fighting over this, but they don't want the focus to be in the Holy Land. So they create a fake Holy Land in a different location and project the story of the New Testament over there, and you will carry the Old Testament over there too. Because they project the New there and they tell you the stories. The Old Testament is revealed in the New Testament. Therefore, the New Testament is concealed in the Old Testament. You know that story. So when they create the New Testament with the Jesus story over there for you, you will pick up the Old Testament and run over there with it too. And the job has been completed. When you go over there, they'll tell you it's Canaan's land. There's nothing holy over there. But this Kitchener, Horatio Kitchener, he was in the Second Boer War, and his central role in the early part of the first, and that was his central role in the First World War. So he's there. Kitchener was credited in 1898 for having won the Battle of Omdurman. Now, I decided to put that on the map so you can see where Kitchener has come from. He is now in South Africa, and he's credited in 1898 with this battle. Let's see where that is. So here was where Kitchener was. Kitchener was fighting here as well. So he's not fighting in South Africa alone. I told you, all the crusades that you read about and all the movies you see, they were taking place on the continent. They were massacring our people Indiana Jones, the Temple of Doom, is the temple in the Kalahari. Raiders of the Lost Ark, same story, biblical story. And so here Kitchener was here in Babylon. This is the Babylon. This is original Babylon in the Sudan. But we'll come back to that. That's where that location is. So Kitchener was credited with the Battle of 1898, having won that one, and securing control of the Sudan. Well, remember, that's the Babylon, from which he was made Baron Kitchener of Khartoum in Africa. He was a terrorist, mercenary army he was leading. A chief of staff, he became chief of staff in 1901 to 1902 in the Second Boer War, we just mentioned him. He played a key role in Lord Roberts' conquest of the Boer Republic in South Africa. Then succeeded Roberts as commander-in-chief, by which time Boer forces had been taken to guerrilla fighting. He was a terrorist. He was an occupier. It's the same story repeating itself in a different space. He was an occupier. And that occupation, 100 years later, earned them the right to that British piece of land, Palestine, that the British got from the Ottoman Empire. But let's continue on. So the Boers went down to guerrilla fighting, and the British forces imprisoned the Boers and African civilians in concentration camps. Concentration camps. Is that something familiar to you? Architects of concentration camps. They were, remember Kitchener and Conda, who they were. And they were now in South Africa and putting African people in concentration camps. So you know when you see it somewhere else, you know who is doing it. His term as commander-in-chief in 1902 to 1909, he was also in the army. He went to India as well. So he was there. He is going to fight the battles. He became that mercenary. That's who he was. And his descendants, years after, claimed in 1948 that land. They were preparing for all of that. And the same behavior in South Africa, the same year they did. But look at the years. Long before, they were in the continent preparing the grounds for the takeover of 1884. Before and after. In 1914, at the start of the First World War, Kitchener became the Secretary of State. Now he's gone. He's relinquished some of these mercenary behaviors, and he's promoted now as a politician. You see how the politicians move up? They come out from the mercenary role, and then they take up. So now they become statesmen, and their images going to be put around the place as good people. But they were killing other people in their own land. He became Secretary of State for War, a cabinet minister. And so is the life of Kitchener. You can read the rest of it. That's where he was there. Then the other one, Claude Regina Conda. He was also at the University College of London and the Royal Military Academy. So they all go into the military, get the military training in Woolwich. He became a lieutenant in the Corps for Royal Engineers. He's a Royal Engineer in 1870, and then he's going to spin off there. He carried out survey work in Palestine in 1872. So these are the two men. He joined Kitchener, Lord Kitchener, who he had met at school, and was seconded to Palestine Exploration Fund in 1875 to 1878, and again in 1881 to 1882, where he was promoted as captain and until he retired, rank of colonel, and so on and so on. Yeah. So this is a story. the story of these men, young men, going in the army, and the mission, the back of their head, they were going to use the Bible, they're going to use the biblical story to create a story in the Levant that the ancestors will come and claim after. Now, if you're a chosen people and the land was originally yours, you don't need Balfour Declaration. Lord Balfour, family friend, family of the same family, is making a declaration for Palestine to be the homeland. But it's based on the Bible. They use the Bible. They use the Bantu scrolls to create the New Testament over there. The Arabs weren't happy, but the Arabs finally became subjected. They had promises that they will have a good life. Don't worry. The people that are our enemies, those black people on that continent that got all the riches, we're going to take it away from them. And the Arabs were conducting the slave trade in the 1400s, moving our people. They were part of the plot, moving our people into the east. They were moving our people. And then comes the transatlantic slave trade to finish the rest of us who were rebels. We're still rebels at heart. It came down in the DNA. What are we rebelling against? The lies that these nations are a holy people and projecting and using the Bible frequently like they're doing now has nothing to do with them. But they use the Bible to create the stories that we get. Somebody's saying to me now, should I then don't listen to the Bible and don't follow? No, I'm not saying that. I say you have to understand the context in which they used it, because a lot of the information belongs to you and I. So the title, composite map of Western Palestine, survey map of Western Palestine description. This is a detailed survey map of west half of Palestine. That's by the Mediterranean Sea. It had 26 survey sheets. Now these are maps, different stages of the mapping. It had 26 sheets. This map was useful to the British in their invasion of Palestine in World War I. Invasion of Palestine. They were taking that land. Now they understand the whole contour, and then they're going to claim this land as biblical location. So Fort Antonio, that you see up there, by the Wailing Wall, you've been told that there's a Jerusalem there. It was put there. This map was useful to the British in their invasion of Palestine. So Palestine was invaded by the British. It is the British that caused the problem today. And so the British has to support the problem because they created it in the first place. It includes place names as well as pink shading for more density populated area. And they said that nobody was there. Some of the place names are translated from Arabic, while others represent English translation from the New Testament. Geographical features such as waterways and mountain ranges and so on were carefully detailed, because now they're going to call the names of them mountains over there what their name in Africa. So you get Mount Hormon, you get Mount Carmel, you get Mount Tekoa, Mount Nebo, Mount Sinai. You're going to name them with a name over so. So you're shifting the story over there. Notably, the survey failed to include the Suez Canal and the wilderness of Tyre, which represent a significant British military interest at the time. There were canvases and the later mapping in 1907 and so on. The creator of this was Conda and Horatio Kitchener. That's the new, there's a general survey of Palestine. Then the British mapping of Western Palestine during the Ottoman Empire. So like I said, the British collected this information during the time when the Ottoman was reigning. And the Ottoman was putting people in those lands because they were invading, and they would have come straight into Europe, but they were started by going from the outskirts and coming in. So you see, the north of Africa, Egypt, Palestine, Egypt, Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco, all of them fell to the Ottoman Empire. And then the Ottoman Empire was now going to close in on the Christian story. And so they had to fight. So now the story of the New Testament, that's why all the New Testament churches now is in the Byzantine area. They are in the area of Europe. This is the church. And so the Arab world finally, when they were defeated, succumbed to Christianity. And so Christianity invaded, and the British was part of that force. So the Ottoman was stayed in the position. So the key point here is that the Palestine Exploration Fund of Great Britain conducted an extensive survey of Western Palestine in 1872 to 1887. During the Ottoman period, while the fund was headed by religious figures, see who were heading up this Palestinian Exploration Fund? People with biblical knowledge and academics. They were now going to remove Sunini Nanini and put in I am that I am. They're going to now remove the true locations and fix them in the next place. They're going to now change the name of Akobe to Israel so the new location could get fueled. There was also involvement from the British government. Essentially, the religious and academic associations of the fund may have served as front to allow the British government to collect intelligence on the region. For example, the British Foreign Office had documented involvement in the production and funding of the survey project, which increased with the Russo-Turkian War in 1877. They put the money there, and they were using that location. They were taking over that location. The survey was the most detailed technological advance to date and was ultimately employed by the British in the invasion of Palestine. So they got every single thing that they did. They knew what they were doing. They copied properly, and then they're going to place the religious part of the group were going to be responsible for putting over them place up south. We've got to make these people think that they come from Israel. We've got to make these black people, when they start waking up, think that they come from Israel, because we don't want them to know they come from the continent, because we need that continent. We need the resources of that continent. So we're shifting them out. Psychologically, religiously, breaking them spiritually, in every way, disconnect them from the land. And tonight you tell some black people that Africa is the Holy Land, they're watching you as though bird just pass and poo on you. In addition to it paid attention to the topographical details. This was conduct. And this mapping project is notable for its areas of focus. Unlike other maps produced by Western colonial powers at the time, such as France and Germany, this map focused exclusively on an area west of the Jordan River, where they're going to make Canaan. It says here, the survey is also careful to include significant holy sites. Why you want to include them there? They don't belong there, but you're going to include holy sites of the New Testament. They're going to fix the story there now. And so they write the Bible now to say, when the angel tell Mary and Joseph, which might not even be their names, Mary and Joseph, to go back now because Herod is dead. He is not going to go back south. He's now coming northeast to the land of Israel. When was that written? 1604, when the Bible was being translated. In 1604. That was written there. So they now had to make it happen in a land because they already put the story there. They just needed to find a land to put it down, and it became Palestine. Let's go on. This is the New Testament according to Josephus and the Talmud. Just pointing out a few things here. At first glance, the map appears modern in all, but the names of the places depicted a geographical feature that are in the identical to those of the other places in the Palestine collection. However, this map layer presents New Testament era place names superimposed over the 1870 maps. So now they got this background of this Old Testament story there, and then they superimposed this New Testament story on there. That was the work. This the cartographer has pulled geographic information from the Talmud and Josephus, in addition to create the New Testament, to illustrate the layout of the land of Judea. So Judah up south became Judea in the north after the birth of Jesus. As a contrast, one might compare this map layer with the Old Testament map layer, which does not succeed to cover certain areas depicted in the Old Testament because of the survey's limit. See, we ain't going to put all of them. We can't fix all of them in here, but we get some in. So the story that you will hear, Canaan, hey, we put them how we feel like. They can't find it over there. We destroy everything that they got aside, and we bring it here. Where we put it, that is where it's going to be. So this is what you get when they're finished. This is how they said Joshua divide up the land. This land here, we never lived there. We never been there. This is the work of Kitchen and Conda, and all our Black Hebrew Israelite brothers are embracing this story because they don't know the root of that story that you just saw. The division of the land by Joshua. Joshua ain't divide no land over here. There is no Judah here. There is no Simeon here. None of these Bantu tribes, none of these black and brown people ever lived in this location. Then you get the 12 tribes. So the 12 tribe chart is not 12 tribe. Mount Carmel by the sea, Table Mountain. Zebulun must be near to Naphtali. Naphtali is up south, but this is in the north. See, the space up here, let me just get my laser. This space up here is the northern part, according to them. Ephraim, going back here is north, coming back this side is south. So Mount Carmel is up south. You know Table Mountain, but you're not supposed to know that it was Table Mountain. Yeah. Then you got Zebulun, Mount Tabor. Mount Tabor is in St. Lucia in KwaZulu-Natal by the sea, Mount Tabor. Megiddo is going to be in the area of Nigeria side there, where the final battle is going to be. Well, the Jordan River is fake. Mount Ebal is in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, kind of central. You see what that is? You see how they're doing it? Central. Mount Ebal and Mount Gerizim are in the same area. Yeah. Benjamin is next to Naphtali. Just how it is right now of South Africa. You've got the Zulu land, which is the land where the children of Naphtali in Isaka Zulu. And then the next land to it is the land of Benjamin. But Naphtali is now in the south, in the north, and Benjamin is up south, next to Jerusalem. See, the land of Benjamin is just next to Jerusalem and Bethlehem. And the south side of Jerusalem is Judah, exactly like how it is there. In Gaza is Mozambique on the Indian Ocean, but this one come over this side. And then they bring over where you will get Philistines, which is a black and brown people. They have to change themselves to now become the Palestinians. Now, Philistine and a Palestinian is different. All of these people here that they identify and bring over here is black and brown people. They don't belong here. They belong on the continent. Now you have to jostle them with the Palestinians now in a place called Gaza Strip. You cannot find nowhere in the Bible where a Bantu, the children of a Kobe, will be disinheriting Arabs for land. You can't find that in the Bible. It's not going to happen. It's not there. Hallelujah. And then they bring over the mountains and the bear. You know the bears is in South Africa. It's always been there. It's always been there. Gaza, Mozambique. So they start producing these maps now. And they go deeper now. They begin to tell you that Aram, because you see that man Aram and Damesak, you see them two names there? They change his name in a strong concordance from Aram to Syria. That's why they put his name back there now. Because they changed his name. Strong's 8758. Aram becomes Syria. And Damesak becomes Damascus. So they put that up there. Ammon is in the lineage of Lot. That's Abraham's family. Remember Lot's two children drunk him and made children? One of the groups is Ammon. He's not an Arab. He's a black and brown man. He's a lineage of Abraham up south. And Moab. These are brothers. Cousins, because it's the two children of Lot made Moab and Ammon, the Ammonites. These are not Arabs. And Edom was in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. See, they can't fit it right. So they chuck these around. And then there's some detailed ones that we'll have to go through. I'm going to do that tomorrow night. I'm going to go through each one of them and pull out some of the things so that you can see it. For example, there's one like Jericho, like Emmaus, like Bethlehem, all of these ones there. They're up south on the continent. A famous one is Carmel, Mount Carmel by the sea, Table Mountain. See, they can't move Table Mountain out from that space because it's got to be by the seaside. It's a Table Mountain in South Africa. That's Mount Carmel. So now they get the Gaza Strip, and the people are not Philistines. Those people are not Philistines. Those are Palestinians. So they get to create the land of Israel. Kitchener and Condor were the architect behind this wickedness. So I wanted to do that tonight. There's much more to do in this topic. And I'm going to come back and then we're going to look at what should be in the north and how they get it wrong by putting it in the south and so on. I want to thank everyone for coming in the chat room tonight. I know it was a bit extra time tonight. I needed to bring this one to this point so that we can proceed nicely with the others. I want to thank everyone for coming in the chat room. May the Most High Almighty Sunini Nanini Samandla, the mighty one of Abraham, the mighty one of Isaka, and the mighty one of Akobi continue to watch over a Bantu as we continue to experience his glorious resurrection. Thank you and good night.
Black Thing Education TV, waking up the Bantus from sleep to sleep. Black Thing Education.
Okay, this is Black Re-Education TV, where we're stepping back from the brink towards a more meaningful future. What our theme verse being, thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. So if your ancestors were scattered via the transatlantic slave trade or the Mohammedan Arabic Islamic slave trade, then you are the children of Almighty. Sunini Nanini Samantha, the mighty one of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Oh yes, Black history, the study of the Bible is Black history. And so you're welcome tonight. Welcome to the show. Welcome. Share the link to everyone. And let somebody know tonight that you are connected to the show. We give him all the praise. We give him all the glory. We give him all the honor because he is due all the praise and all the honor. Oh yes, share the link and text a friend. And after the show, make sure you follow us on all the channels. It is on Telegram Live, it is YouTube Live, Facebook Live, and the recording is uploaded on Bantu. You are welcome tonight to the show. All praises to Almighty Sunini Nanini Samantha. We give him all the praise and all the glory.
Waking up the Bantus from sea to sea. Black Thing Education TV, waking up the Bantus from sea to sea. Black Thing Education